Welcome to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. From that very first step into the workplace, women lay the cornerstones of their careers. Each stage brings a new chapter. The early years are about building that foundation, a strong foundation. But as women hit their stride mid-career, disruption, bias, and opportunity come crashing together. Now, in leadership roles, the story evolves. It's about wielding influence, finding balance, and harnessing technology for impact. And in the later years, it all comes down to security and legacy, ensuring every ounce of hard work stands the test of time. Today, we go behind the scenes with an executive recruiter to uncover what it really takes for women to thrive at work every step of the way. I'm joined by Pamela Ruebusch, CEO at TSI Group Inc., a retained executive search firm placing leadership roles throughout North America. Today's topic is optimizing your career path. Pamela, welcome to Empowered. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
Okay, so let's go through this. Let's start at the very, very beginning. When women are just entering the job market, that's where basically the foundation is built. What skills should a young woman focus on to future-proof their careers in a job market reshaped by AI? Because that's important right now.
Yes, AI is changing and speeding everything up, Liz. So we really have to look at when you first start your career, you really want to make sure that if you don't know exactly what you want to do, that you're open to pivoting and going to different opportunities that might and give you sort of the answers of where your ultimate path is going to be. AI, if we take a step back, we don't even know what we don't know. So by 2030 and by 2035, there are jobs that do not exist today that are going to be popping up. So that's why it's important to set the foundation. And in the early years, you really need to make sure that you're curious, that you really understand how and who are the influencers in your life that are going to help you learn and uncover who you really are. Some people know people that want to do more accounting roles or in specific marketing roles or engineering roles. Those are kind of set roles in terms of the skill set, but other people don't know what they want to do. So they really are on more of a navigation and a journey. But AI is going to impact all of that, and the pace of change is just going to increase by the minute.
I love the fact that you said to be curious, because I always tell people if you don't know, ask questions. So, how can women entering the workforce recognize and negotiate their true market value from the start? Because that's a hard thing for a lot of people to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of times don't be timid. Make sure that you talk to your peers, what in and knowing sort of what the salary and career paths, but also the compensation paths that are there for different roles. One thing I wanted to point out is in the older
Yeah.
days when we were graduating from university, we all, we sort of knew what types of companies we want to be with larger Fortune, typically Fortune 500 companies. Today, the young people entering the workplace are going into the gig economy. They are actually becoming the CEOs for themselves, and it's just a whole different journey and path. So it's not just one set path of especially as a search firm, we would look for that progression. But a lot of times, like people will jump around to different roles and then eventually find their true path in life.
It's interesting that you said they want to be CEOs. We typically have 10 to 12 interns at the office in the summertime.
Yeah.
And this entire group that was in the past summer all had this entrepreneurial spirit,
Yes.
which is really nice to hear. Now, before we go to commercial break, I want to ask you quickly, what's the one question women often forget to ask about mentorship and sponsorship?
Well, mentorship is important. Whether you have a formal mentor or just various people that help influence your career, you really need to make sure that there is somebody that you can ask them that they will help you learn. And I always say that we fail into success. So somebody that's willing to tell you where your gaps are versus what your strengths are, and somebody who's going to have your back and advocate for you so that when that next role is coming up, that there's somebody that's going to stand behind you. Mhm.
Those are wonderful words of wisdom to go into the next commercial break. So when we come back, we're basically going to talk about more about your career and how to strengthen that through the years. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. My guest today is Pamela Ruebusch, and she's the CEO of TSI Group. And basically, we're talking about optimizing your career path. Now we're on to the next level. We're on to the mid career growth. Once you've built the foundation, the mid career stage is about growth. So, how should women think about career pivots when their industries are disrupted by automation and AI? Once again, AI, it's rearing its ugly head.
Yeah, I mean, I always say it really isn't going to replace us humans, but it's there to be an enabler and to enhance and optimize what we're doing. So whether we're in a senior operations role or a finance role or whatever part of the business is, you really want to make sure that you're using learning AI. So I always say we really should be at least at the curve or ahead of the curve if we can. But there's so much to learn right now. It's kind of the Wild West.
Yes.
So we really have to make sure that we pull in and learn from those that can give us the key tools that can help us improve our business. But as far as like that part of our mid-career, we need to make sure that we're continuously learning because we don't want to be left behind when you're at that mid-level. It's very important that you stay ahead of, with your people, processes, and technology, and AI is at the head of the curve.
And as you said in the beginning, stay
Mhm.
curious, right? Because if you don't stay curious, you will be left behind,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So I want to talk about hidden biases. What hidden biases exist in hiring and promotion, and how can women navigate them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, if you've been at a company for a number of years, you know what the culture is. You know how things work, but you need to continue to make sure that you understand when it is time for that next career and you feel you're ready for that upward move, that you're positioned well to ask for it. I think we've talked about this before, Liz, but 80% of the time when a woman is qualified, she only puts her hand up 20% of the time. But if a man typically puts their hand up 80% of the time, whether they're qualified or not. So we really need to make sure that we're not feeling timid, that we feel like we're going to own it and we're ready to take that next leap and stand up for ourselves and ask for it,
I like
whatever
that.
it is.
I
Yeah.
like that
Yeah.
because, again, questions, ask for it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, what should women ask about company culture before taking a leadership role?
Well, if you let's say you're being courted to go to a new company, which being in the search business, it's making sure that it's the right time for them to look at something new. It's risky in the sense that you want to make sure that the values and beliefs and the culture of, and also what the strategy is. Where's the company going? Sometimes companies that were privately owned and you were part of that growth curve, but then they get bought by private equity. All of a sudden, the culture might change drastically.
Mm.
And that might not be the place for you anymore. So it's really important to understand the dynamics beyond the role of what you're being considered for, whether it's with a company you've already been with or somebody new. Where's the company going? How can you be a part of that? Does that really line up with your own values and beliefs? Because believe me, at the end of the day, values and beliefs and alignment are key. Otherwise, you won't be happy.
Well, you won't want to go into to the office every day,
That's
right?
right.
It'll be a huge struggle for you.
That's right.
What about what financial questions should a woman ask before a new role beyond salary? Like, what else do
Yeah.
they have to ask about?
That's a really good point. I mean, when we're doing searches, and we're talking to people about the comp, it's never just about the base. You really have to look at total reward. So two things. Number one, if it's a public company, a lot of times as you move up the ladder, there's additional perks. There's stock options and things like that that really can add to the value of your own personal portfolio of compensation.
Mhm.
If it's a private company, it's okay. As we go to this trajectory over the next 5 years, how can I win and be part of that as maybe an equity potential equity partner down the road, or at least the gain share, and understanding that variable total rewards. Sometimes it might be extended benefits that would actually be meaningful to you that are, topped up. And some companies really are proud of all the total rewards that they have, and that really attracts and embeds into what the culture is.
And then that's important as well, because a lot of people want to go work at a large organization and don't even think about startups, because
Mhm.
startups are incredible. If you are there from the get-go,
Mhm.
it's a big win for you. So
Yeah.
please don't go away. We'll be right back with optimizing your career. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski. Today's discussion is how to navigate and optimize your career throughout your working journey. So, Pamela, now we're into the leadership and the balancing it all act. As women, we step into leadership and the challenges shift now that it's influence, balance, and using technology to our advantage. How can women leaders leverage AI to work smarter and not harder?
Yeah, well, I think just we all are going to be incorporating AI into our lives in general, and it's really understanding what those tools can do for you to save time, because time is money, as we know. And if we can improve the efficiencies, some people are afraid of, oh, it might replace this or a role, a part of my role, but don't be afraid, because it allows you to be more strategic. It allows you to be thinking on your role versus being in it, and all the details and things that mire us down every day. So we just can't look back. We have to look forward.
I think
Yeah.
one of the key things too is we need to let people know that AI, even though it's a disruptor right now, we use it as a tool to help us and enhance us. We don't use it as a tool to write everything for us and do
Yeah.
everything for us.
Yes.
And I think that's the difference,
Yes.
where people will step in and try to use it, or people
Mhm.
just say, no, it scares me. I don't want to have anything to do with
Yes.
it.
Once you realize how it can enhance your role, whatever that is, I don't think you'll look back, because let's face it, there's a lot of sort of tasks in everybody's job, whether you're a senior leader or not, that it could just save so much and be more efficient to our everyday outputs.
It
Yeah.
actually helps me to not procrastinate.
Yes. Which we all do.
Okay, so let's talk
Uh,
about the unspoken rules of balancing a career and caregiving, because that seems to be a big thing right now in the sandwich generation and
yes.
women that are, midlife.
Yes, for sure. And these things are going to come up. It's not an if, but when, with family members. If there's sort of specific caregiving needs that you need to pay attention to, sometimes it might mean that you might need to take a step back, or just step aside while you deal with it. If Because we can only do so much. And let's face it, a lot of times the burden of family can be more on women, although it is, very shared with the generations today, but not in the old days. And I think that we need to be fair to ourselves, have those conversations. If you have a life coach or a mentor, to say, okay, this has just gotten to be too much. What should I do? And then talk it through. Don't be afraid of that. You can't, you have to be perfect, as we always hear, or, be able to be everything to everyone. Sometimes you may have to take a pause, or even take a step sideways, in order to be able to manage your life.
I think the
Mhm.
key too is, surround yourself with great friends,
Yes.
because when you are in that role and it's really bringing you down because you just don't have that energy,
Yes.
ask for help.
Yes. You
And I
have to
think
ask for help.
and I think
Yeah.
a lot of people find it very difficult to ask for help.
Yes. And the truth is, there's lots of people out there going through the same thing. As you learn, or as you sort of speak up and not be afraid to say, okay, this is really too much for me. How can you get the help that you need? And help is always there, but you have to put your hand up.
Yep, and I think that's
Mhm.
that's important. That's the key. Put your hand up. So what's the one question women should ask themselves before saying yes to new opportunities?
Well, you need to vet it properly. I mean, that's one of the things we're tasked with as a executive search firm is to make sure that when we go out to the market, we're really uncovering the right people. But it's not just the right people; it's the right timing. Because you could have the right person, but the timing or the circumstance are just wrong. So once you get there, that individual needs to make sure that they've learned everything about the role, the stakeholders, the ownership, the upward mobility potential. So that I always tell candidates, what's the trajectory of where your career path can go by staying where you are, or if you were to consider making this move. And I always make sure also that, people are very mindful because it's their career. It's a big decision to go to the next opportunity. So you need to make sure that you've thought it through, and if it's not right, speak up and say, yes, it's not the right time.
Oh, that's great. Okay, I can't wait to delve into the next segment, which is about wealth, security, and legacy. So
Mhm.
don't go away. We'll be right back with more of Pamela Ruebusch and all of her words of wisdom for women optimizing their careers. Welcome back to Empowered. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm joined by Pamela Ruebusch, CEO at TSI Group Inc., a leading executive search firm servicing North America. And today's discussion is how to navigate and optimize your career throughout your working journey. So, this is the last segment. This is the bridge. This is the final, the later stages of a career. So, basically, it's about wealth, security, and legacy. What should women ask about? Equity and retirement contributions.
Well, I mean, Liz, you know this, you've been teaching this also your whole life is about financial empowerment of women. I think it's really key that you understand, okay, how are things building over time? If a company has these stock options or RSP contributions, knowing how that wealth is being built and making sure, I mean, most companies today are not defined benefit,
Mhm.
defined pension. It's more, it's you to work with your financial planner to make sure that you're building the right amount of wealth so that eventually when you do retire that you have the confidence, but constantly educating yourself and understanding, and don't be in the dark about the variable comp and the contributions. Make sure that you understand where you're at and where you're going.
And I think
Mhm.
it's really important too. If you're working for a company and they will give you $3,000 for an RRSP and they match you,
Mhm.
don't walk away. That's free money. And a
Yes.
lot of people think, oh, I don't have that to put in
Yeah.
there. Do
Yeah.
whatever you can to make it work because it's free money that you're walking away from.
Especially in the early years,
Mhm.
as we know, as time, builds, your wealth can, double and triple if you're getting in early in the market. So, yeah, very key. And really understanding again, if that is a motivator that you're with that company because they've got a great stock option plan or you're part of that equity share or so forth, you're going to feel like you're not only committed to that company, but it's part of your pride that you're actually part of helping build that wealth in the company and you're sharing in that wealth.
So when I first started working in broadcasting, I was working at Southern News on Canada's first daily business show called Business World.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, we had the opportunity to get stock options for Southern.
Mhm.
And I had no idea what that was.
Yeah.
But I thought, I don't know what this is, but it looks interesting. I'm going to start. So that was my very first investment opportunity. That was the first time I'd ever purchased a stock. I didn't understand what it was at the time, but it actually opened my eyes and it made me feel very proud of myself that all of a sudden now I'm investing
Mhm.
in this company that has hired me and employs
Yeah.
me.
Yes. And you were curious.
I was curious
Yeah.
and I asked questions.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's talk about women and financial planning. We all know a lot about women.
Mhm.
Why do women need to think differently about their finances?
Well, first of all, it is a fact that we live longer than men.
Mhm.
So we need to make sure that we've definitely planned for our futures and eventual retirement. That we're going to be be self-sustaining. I think that's the key thing in whatever way that you can. So the knowledge that you keep learning about financial planning is never going to be lost, never going to be missed.
So we've got a minute left. I want two questions. What role will AI play in reshaping retirement and healthcare planning for women?
Well, I think we don't know all the answers to that
Yep.
question yet, but it's definitely, it's just going to enhance the world, and in these areas, it's going to improve, I think, our overall wellness, and I think the ability to benefit from AI in these areas is it's just we don't know what we don't know.
This is very, very true. Now, one last question. What's the most important legacy question women should ask themselves?
What did I contribute? You have to, feel proud of what you've done. But I think that the key thing is, did I pass on my knowledge? Because, passing on your knowledge is giving future wisdom to others. So I think that's one of the most important things is how did I do it for myself, and how can I help those behind me coming up, even though they might make different choices, that you can set them up for success and you'll feel good about that.
Thank you so much, Pamela.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Pamela's closing words of wisdom to you are: when you start out in your career, be curious, raise your hand, and learn from mentors. This will help you choose your next career role and motivates you and inspires you. I'm Elizabeth Naumovski, and I'm here to empower you and make frugality fashionable. Bye for now.